You are now watching M.O.D Entertainment. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment, and share. And make sure to check out the merchandise. The link to the website will be in the description. You are now watching M.O.D Entertainment. Make sure you subscribe and check out the playlist.
I grew up hearing gunshots in the late night. Ghetto bird, police sirens as a mother cries. Just another victim of the Sound Brown genocide. Locals posted, locked and loaded, ready to take lives. And when they heard the chieflet, they would duck up out of sight. Like your car when the sundown, it was mission time. You had to stay alert, cause bullets always travel blind. We stayed posted, we stayed drinking, and we getting high. Marchando down the enemy's neighborhood as we ride. Put the hood, put the glica sample, fuck their side. No regrets, but the truth is no peace of mind.
G-File.
Alright, now starting off right here in the city of Hawthorne, we have the oldest and largest neighborhood in the city of Hawthorne. You have the Barrio Little Watts, or as is known as Hawthorne 13 Little Watts. This is the oldest gang within the city. The largest one too, so they're the most dominant powerhouse when we're talking about barrios over here. The Little Watts gang started in the 1960s, you know, straight out of Hawthorne. So not to get it confused, the Little Watts neighborhood does not come from Watts. You know what I mean? I know it gets confused with Watts 13, but Little Watts and Watts 13 is two different things. Now, I have heard several stories. I have heard that Little Watts was started off of the Watts neighborhood, but then I was told that that isn't true, that Little Watts, it's its own neighborhood, and it has no affiliation to none of the Watts sets. That the reason why it's known as Little Watts is because the area was ghetto, pues, and it reminded people of Watts. That's the reason why it was known as Little Watts. And that's the reason why that name stuck. At least that's what I was told. And they are the most largest, like I said. You know what I mean? They're the most dominant neighborhood within this area. You know what I mean? They got their shit on lockdown. These guys ain't no suckers, ain't no chumps. You know what I mean? Now, you can find their neighborhood is located what's El Segundo all the way to Imperial Highway, where Hawthorne Boulevard's at, and Prairie Avenue is where, you know, they hang out. Is their main domain, their dojo. That's their realm. You know what I mean? That's where they be having shit on lockdown. You know, pretty large chunk of territory. And this neighborhood is large. I mean, they have like a shitload of cliques, like Tiny Locos, Winos, FAB, Dukes, Baby Locos, Tokers, Demons, Traviesos, Underground Locos, 147th Street, 135th Street, 126th Street, to 120th Street. I'm telling you, man, they just got a lot of cliques, man. That's how large this neighborhood is, you know, and you get what I mean? Like I said, they're the most dominant one over here. These guys ain't playing, you know what I mean? And they be holding it down still to this day. You know, stronger than ever right there. Now, shout out to all the homies from Little Watts, you know what I mean? From Sleepy all the way to Travs. Shout out to the homie Snoopy, Firme Camarada. And shout out to the homie Kevin. Get at me, my boy. You know what I mean? For we could hit them tracks. But that's what's up with the Little Watts neighborhood right there, holding it down and representing theirs. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's the Watts gang. Now here you have KDS. Now I was told that KDS is also located right here in the Harbor area. I know that they're scattered throughout Los Angeles because KDS used to be a tag banging crew that became a neighborhood, standing for Crazy Devils is what this neighborhood stands for. I also heard the term Crazy Dogs. And they were a tag banging crew that became a neighborhood roughly around the 2000s. So, you know, they're roughly a more smaller neighborhood. You roughly don't see them up as much as some of these other sets, obviously, because, you know, how they just transition to the neighborhood, whatever. You know, they really just tend to drift around, not having a specific spot, but still having numbers on their side and representing for there, you know, just because they may not be large or established like somewhere doesn't mean that they some chumps and pushover. These guys will get it on and pop it. But that's what's up with the KDS right there, representing for the Crazy Devils. Another one of these drifting neighborhoods that you have around right here, you have the Barrio BGS, which stands for Barrio Vagos. Now, Vagos, I have already covered them in the south central portion, but they do have a clica over here in the harbor area, hence why you even see it up as harbor area Vagos. You know what I mean? They do have a small presence over here on this side. You know, but because Vagos is not a large gang in itself, but don't let that fool you. You know, they do have, you know, their homeboys that be gangbanging right there holding it down. You know what I mean? They got homies right there that be putting it on the map for them. You know what I mean? Sometimes size doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Despite what people say, the BGS neighborhood ain't no slouches, ain't no chumps. They already have been right here on this side of town since the mid 2000s, and continue to hold it down as such. You know what I mean? Like I said, they do have their riders, and they be right there representing for their gang and putting their, you know, their setup on the map. Now, another neighborhood that when you think about the city of Hawthorne that comes into mind is the Barrio Southside Players, the Southside Jugadores. You know what I mean? SSP, as you see it up. So not to be confused with Southside Pasadena or Southside Pomona. This is the Southside Players neighborhood. You know what I mean? Or sometimes you see it PLZ, you know, Players, like that. You know what I mean? But then again, I also seen it with an S, so, you know, they have just different ways of writing it. But the Southside Players is the next largest neighborhood in the city of Hawthorne. You know, when we're talking about Hawthorne, they also are located in Southgate. They have a clica in Southgate. You know what I mean? Now, some people say that it started in Southgate, but I was told that it started over here in Hawthorne by some older homeboys out of here. You know, shout out to the homie Wolfie, Wacko, Bandit, Cartoon, the homie Gato. Shout out to all the homies from Southside Players. You know what I mean? I was told that it was started in Hawthorne. On 105th Street is their domain, their home dojo, where it be going down, where it's on and cracking. You know what I mean? Heavily going at it with the Little Watts neighborhood. That's probably like, you know, their biggest adversary. You know, their biggest rival right there. Heavy beast between these neighborhoods. You know what I mean? And even though the Little Watts neighborhood is the more larger and older out of the two, because the Southside Players neighborhood was started in the 80s. Nonetheless, they still hold down the fort. You know, they ain't no chumps. You know what I mean? Even though they're the smaller one out of the gangs, hey, they hold it down, homie. These fools don't be letting themselves. You know what I mean? So you can still find them right there doing their thing. And I was roughly told that this neighborhood is more than 150 members is what I was told at this neighborhood. You know what I mean? And that's not even adding the Southgate portion to it. So, because the Southgate portion and this portion is the same neighborhood, same barrio, you know, just different locations. So, you know, they could just always go and back up each other and stuff like that. So, as a whole, it's a much larger neighborhood, because I was told that the Southgate Players were roughly about 80 members. So, you're looking at about at least a gang that's about like 200 heads. So, you know, pretty large, you know what I mean? Well, decent size. But yeah, that's what's up with the Southside Players. Right there, definitely holding it down. Shout out to all the homies that I got from Jugadores. Firme, down ass homies, camaradas right there. And shout out to all the Southside Players that be doing their thing, homie. And here we have roughly one of the more smaller neighborhoods that likes to roam through this area. You know what I mean? You have the Barrio CS. Now, CS translates to Barrio Psychos. Not to be confused with criminals, because they write it CLS. This is CS, that's, you know, psychos. That's how they write it. You know what I mean? This neighborhood is located in several locations. You know, South Central, Watts, and also right here in the harbor area. You know what I mean? There's a neighborhood that tends to float around. That's just how they get down. You feel me? You know, that's just how they do it. Now, I was told that it was a tank crew that became a neighborhood. I can't confirm that, but that's what I was told. You know what I mean? So they claim 1-3, but I can't confirm it. But the Barrio Psychos definitely has riders, you know what I mean? Throughout these areas, throughout the harbor area, you bump into them, you know, you see the graffiti and activity by these guys. So they are lurking around, you know what I mean? So you also got to keep trucha for them guys, you know what I mean? Because like I said, despite anybody's background or whatever, I mean, you know, they could just creep up and just let you have it. I mean, you know, all it really does take is once. So, you know, Barrio Psychos is unable to be taken, you know, serious. And you never know, homie, because, you know, like I said, all it takes is luck and just that one time. But that's what's up with them right there. Here's another neighborhood I covered several times on here. On the simple fact that, you know, there used to be a tank crew, so they're pretty much spread out through several locations, you know what I mean? from South Central to West LA. They even have one in Orange County, but I heard that one's different. But you have the EK neighborhood, the Evil Clan neighborhood. It is also located besides South Central and all that. They also have territory that they claim right here in Hawthorne. Through this side on the harbor area, is known as the 99th Street MKA is the clica, of theirs. But that's, Evil Clan, 99th Street MKA. That's how you see it. Now, they're roughly, even though they're scattered through different cities, like West LA, South Central, right here in Hawthorne and all that, EK is roughly a small neighborhood. I was told that they're roughly less than 100 members. But how they were a tank crew, they tended to float around, and that's the reason, hence why you have them in different locations. But in each location, I was told that they're roughly only about 20 heads. So, not that large, obviously smaller, a lot more smaller than the neighborhoods around them. But then again, they could just go and back up each other, you know what I mean? Because from driving distance, it's not all that far from each other's locations. So, you know what I mean? Therefore, because I hear a lot of that they be saying that there used to be a tank crew, that they're small and everything like that. But as a whole, they're much more larger, and they could just call, for reinforcements or whatever. So these guys are not to be fucked with, You think just because, that's their background, they may be small. I mean, all it really does take is one motherfucker to get it on and cracking. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. But that's what's up with the EK neighborhood right here, representing for theirs, the Evil Clan, and putting theirs on the map, you feel me? But that's what's up with EK right there. Now, right here in Hawthorne, another old school barrio that you have right here in this area that is homebred out of this area, but is located in different places. You have Los Compadres Barrio 3. Now, Los Compadres Barrio 3, this is the original place in which they come from. They come out of Hawthorne. I know that they have them in Orange County, in the Inland Empire, in Palmdale. They're all over the place. They have multiple locations in which their barrios established, and in each location, believe it or not, they're actually large. You know what I mean? They're actually a decent size. This neighborhood is one of these neighborhoods that just spread like wildfire. I mean, not to the level of like 18 MS in Florence and neighborhoods like those, but nonetheless, it is a neighborhood that is large, that is with the business. You know what I mean? And this is the original place in which they come from. Now, now they're not as large as they used to be before. I would probably say their largest location is probably the Palmdale one, as of now. But right here, they still hold the presence right here, out of their home place. You know what I mean? In Hawthorne, going at it with the surrounding neighborhoods. And I was told that this neighborhood was established roughly around the mid to late 60s is when this neighborhood was established. At least that's what I was told. So it's already an old school barrio, you feel me? That's reason why it did spread like wildfire, you know what I mean? Homies, move and start recruitment and stuff like that. But yeah, Los Compadres Barrio 3 is definitely with the business, still holding it down right here in their area. They ain't no chumps, they ain't no suckers. This barrio definitely puts it down, straight out of Hawthorne, homebred neighborhood, and still right there maintaining and representing for their barrio and putting it on the map, you feel me? Shout out to the homie Downer, Malo, and Bronze out of Los Compadres Barrio 3. And shout out to all the homies from Los Compadres Barrio 3 that be doing their thing. Also over here in the harbor area, you have the Barrio Little Mobsters, LMS. Now, LMS has always roughly been a small neighborhood. I had already covered them in the Long Beach portion because they do have a clica in Long Beach. But their birthplace is over here by the Hawthorne Gardena area, is where they originated from. Home base for them, you know what I mean? I seen it up as Gardena Little Mobsters. I seen it up as Hawthorne Little Mobsters. You know what I mean? As in which city did they originated from? I wasn't able to get the answer to that one. You know what I mean? Because some homie said Gardena, some homie said Hawthorne. You know what I mean? But either way, this around this area roughly is where they originated out of. Shout out to the homie Vampy. from Little Mobsters. Yeah, this neighborhood has always roughly been one of these more smaller gangs, you know what I mean? Never really had that many in numbers. I was told that they're roughly about 100 heads between both locations, meaning in the Hawthorne Gardena area and in the Long Beach area. So together, so in each individual location, they're probably like roughly like about 50 heads. You know what I mean? You know, pretty quite small for a neighborhood. And, you know, but even though these other gangs around them are large, they hold their ground, stay with the business, and stay representing for theirs. These guys ain't no chump, no pushovers. You know what I mean? Just because they're not as big as these other neighborhoods doesn't mean that, you know, these fools could just walk all over them. They still representing, you know, to this day. They still have their riders, and they still be doing things out there, homie. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the homies from Little Mobsters, and shout out to Vampy, and, you know, shout out to all of them that be holding it down still for their barrio.